Association of Michigan. Gila Dakar, she is the president of the association. Rajesh Sidgal, where are you, Rajesh? Rajesh Sidgal is a member of the association, our student at Grand Valley. Gila's daughter, Harsha Little, here, is a 7th grader at Crestwood Middle School, right? Middle School. Originally, they are from this kingdom of Bhutan. In the Eastern Himalayas. It's a very small kingdom which still has a monarchy in the Eastern Himalayas. And the Bhutanese people from Bhutan, in this case, people like Leela and Leela's family and many others like her, arrived in the United States around the 1980s as part of the US Refugee Resettlement Program. So today there are approximately 3,000 Bhutanese in the Michigan area alone. I think altogether 65,000 came to this country, if I remember correctly, 1980s it started the process. And today Harsha and Leela will give a short presentation of their journey to the United States.
Namaste, greetings. My name is Harsha Lintel, and today I'm going to talk to you about the journey of these people.
Harsha, a little louder please, okay?
Bhutan is a small country bordering China and India near Nepal. It was established as a kingdom in 1907 by Great Britain. Before the refugee crisis, the population was ethnically 50% Drukpa and 35% Nepal. Drukpas are people that came from Tibet, and Nepalis are from Nepal. Jonka is the official language, but other languages, including Nepali, were spoken by 50% of the people, and Buddhism is the main religion, followed by Hinduism.
Harsha, can you stand a little bit still? So you got to hear it better like this. Thank you.
Drukpas live in a group or a village, and this is their house. Bhutanese refugees are almost all ethnic Nepalis who were invited to migrate to South Bhutan to work as farmers since the 1880s. They're called Lojumpas, which mean people of the south. This is a one-family house for the Lojumpas, and the Lojumpas usually live far away from each other, and they grow 2 types of crops. Rice, which is their primary crop, and betel nut, which is their commercial crop. The Nepalis were forced to sign papers falsely stating that they had sold their land and property. The houses in Bhutan are built out of stone and wood, and all businesses must have a license. And that's my mom right there. In the 1980s, some in the Bhutanese political, cultural, and religious majority began to fear the Lojumpas' increasing population and political and cultural influence. They feared their cultural identity and political sovereignty could be lost. They were stripped of their citizenship, their land and property were seized, and they were forced to leave. People fled through the plains of Assam and Bengal's dense jungles and rivers, and this is when they were forced to leave. It was hoped that the refugees could someday return to Bhutan or perhaps be allowed to immigrate to Nepal. But for a variety of political reasons, this did not happen, and the refugees lived in the camps for more than 18 years. The Lojumpas began to be marginalized and persecuted through mandated language, dress, diet requirements, and restrictions on residence. More than 100,000 people fled to Nepal, where the refugee camps were later established by the United Nations. This is how they lived in the camp. These organizations helped the refugees. World Health Organization, UNHCR, Caritas Nepal, Nepal Red Cross Society, United Nations World Food Program. They started building their huts and houses for the camp. After they made the camp, they had no jobs, so they began creating their own jobs. They had limited food, water, and no electricity. In the camp school, they had no furniture, so they had to sit on the ground, and soccer was the only sport that they played in the camp. Then every 2 weeks, they would get food from an organization called World Food Program. They could only get a limited amount of food. In 2008, 8 different countries came together to form a resettlement program for the refugees. The Bhutanese had to decide whether to stay or give up hope of returning and move to a new life. Often families were split up and resettled at different times. The government of Nepal and UNHCR distributed identity cards to the refugees to improve protection and assistance. These organizations interviewed and helped the refugees through the third country resettlement. The refugees went to orientation classes to learn more about their third country resettlement. The IOM buses pick up from the camp to bring to the airport, and this is when they were leaving the airport to their new resettlement country. Now, separation of families. It was hoped that some refugees could someday return to Bhutan. These are all the remaining families who are still waiting to go back to Bhutan. Finally, this is when they were welcoming families at Gerald R. Ford Airport by resettlement agency, church volunteer, and family members. Finally, the families arrived at Gerald R. Ford Airport, and this is my family that arrived. Learning English and becoming employed is the first step within 6 months of arrival. Refugees left behind most things, but constantly and securely carried their dreams close to their hearts, believed in hard work, and no problems are permanent. Every refugee has a story worth listening, an experience worth regarding, and dreams worth cherishing. Bhutanese refugees have had great neighbors and been motivated students and loyal citizens. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and if you would like to volunteer, help, donate, or listen to more stories, then please go to this website and contact us with this email. Thank you.